must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
To my fellow African diaspora, a very good day to all of you. My name is Ambassador Arikana Chihombori Kwao. Over the past couple of days, I've received many messages, emails, phone calls, and video clippings of the abuse that is being meted to our fellow African diaspora living in China. I've watched in horror Africans roaming the streets of China with their possessions after being evicted out of their homes simply because they are Africans. I've watched in horror Africans roaming the streets with their suitcases and at times with nothing at all, roaming the streets after being thrown out of their hotel rooms simply because they're Africans. I have watched in horror women carrying babies roaming the streets of China with nowhere to go after being thrown out of their homes simply because they are Africans. I've heard many stories of Africans who are married to Chinese being separated from their husbands or wives simply because they were Africans. I've heard stories about Africans being forced to take COVID-19 tests simply because they're Africans. In many cases, these individuals did not meet criteria for testing, or they had been quarantined for the specified time period as mandated by the anti-pandemic laws of China. Not once have I heard any complaints of any African disobeying the anti-pandemic laws of China. Why is it then that Africans are being singled out and mistreated? This situation is not acceptable. It is wrong, and it will not be tolerated. To President Xi, I say, while you have enjoyed good relationships with all the African leaders, it is precisely because of that that you should do the right thing. You are sitting in the big boy's chair, and we are asking you to make the big boy decisions. We are counting on you to make sure that the Africans that are roaming the streets and have been evicted from their homes be allowed to go back home. We're also asking you to make sure the Africans who are roaming the streets because they have been thrown out of their hotel rooms be allowed to go back to their hotel rooms. As we speak, President Xi, may I remind you that we have over 10 million Chinese residing in Africa where we have welcomed them with open arms. We have allowed the Chinese to establish themselves to marry Africans and live happily ever after in our Africa. Why can't Africans be awarded the same welcome that we have given to millions of your citizens? What is being done to Africans in China is deplorable, and the world cannot stand by and allow it to continue. While we understand that the majority of the Chinese are good people, they're good citizens in China as well as in Africa. However, sadly, among them, there are a few bad apples. A few bad apples that have chosen to give China a bad name. A few bad apples that are making China look bad in the eyes of the Africans. This is a situation that cannot be allowed to continue. President Xi, you are a good man. And we would like the relationship between China and the African governments to continue unabated. But the behavior that's coming from a few of your citizens will not be tolerated. And we're counting on you to do what is right, to do what is just, and to do what is fair. The Africans are no longer going to tolerate this abuse. From the Chinese or anybody else for that matter. The African youth are enraged. We're asking, when is enough going to be enough? President Xi, the power is in your hands. We value, as Africans, our relationship with China. Please do not allow a few bad apples within your citizens to ruin what is otherwise a wonderful relationship between China and the African countries. As a united citizens, As the United African Citizens in the diaspora, we are asking you, President Xi, to do what is right, to do what is just, and to do what is fair. The children of Africa are saying, enough is enough. The abuse of Africans at home and abroad, be it in China or on the continent, has got to stop. You may not be aware of some of these abuses, but as a United African Citizen in the diaspora, we hope you will receive our message in the spirit with which it is being delivered to you. You are a good man, President Xi. We trust you will do the right thing. I thank you.
Indeed, the world over, countries have adopted the mantra, test, isolate, treat, trace. Kenya has adopted this mantra. With regard to testing, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board is now accelerating regulatory decisions regarding approval of COVID test kits. The board is implementing stringent, expedited accreditation mechanism, which has shrunk the process from 3 months to 48 hours. Using this approach, the board has authorized the employment of 4 test kits for detecting the virus, which are currently being used. And these include Copper SARS-CoV-2 test kit by Roche Diagnostics, Expert Express SARS-CoV-2 by Cepheid, BioFire COVID-19 test by BioFire Defense LLC, Abbott by Abbott Molecular Inc. With this approach, our capacity for testing will be expanded from our current 10 to cover at least 1 laboratory in each county. This is expected to take place in the next 2 weeks. We request that incoming applications are uploaded along with the requisite documents to the PPB portal. As shared in the past briefings, the current phase involves deployment of targeted testing with a focus on frontline healthcare workers, identified hotspots and clusters in Nairobi, Mombasa, enhancing community-based surveillance and screening transit drivers. With regard to isolation and quarantine, we have 33 quarantine centers that are currently active. We have closed down a good number of sites. At the moment, we have 483 individuals in the various centers across the country. We have also quarantined 455 other persons for defying national curfew regulations. And I think this is important to note, because once you are out during curfew hours, it is assumed that you have now been exposed, and therefore, if you are taken, you will be taken to a quarantine site for 14 days at your own cost. We are today launching a special designated isolation and treatment facility for our healthcare workers. This facility will be able to offer both critical care, basic care services for our healthcare workers. All costs incurred during treatment shall be met by the government. With regards to tracing, 11 more persons have tested positive for the disease today, bringing the total to 281 in the country. Of these confirmed cases, 7 are Kenyans, from Mombasa. And in that Mombasa area, we have got quite a few, I think 3 are from Bondeni in the old town in Mombasa. We have a few also from other areas, Miritini. I think we have a case from Miritini, and a couple of other areas within Mombasa town itself. The other 4 are from Nairobi, and those ones are from Ruaka. The Ruaka area is where we got those 4. And none of those have a recent travel history as such. And 5 are female, while 6 are male. 7 of those are from our quarantine centers, the ones in Mombasa in our quarantine centers, and 4 were picked by a surveillance team from various parts of the country. They are aged between 11 and 80 years old. And I can confirm that the herbalist who died in Mombasa, Old Town, the 3 in that area, in the Old Town, are actually contacts of the herbalist who died in the same area. And there goes the whole idea, and why we are always talking about keeping distance. That's why we are always talking about people going around and not taking care and not wearing masks. These are some of the results that we are getting as a result of these shortfalls. We are also happy that 2 patients have recovered and been discharged. And out of those 2 patients, I can also report that one of them is a doctor. We have 2 doctors who had tested positive, and one doctor is still under treatment, while the other one has recovered. So we now have a total of 69 recoveries. The number of people we have lost remains at 14. I also want to make a special appeal to people in the counties of Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu, and Murang'a. As Nairobi metropolitan counties, you have a special responsibility to guard against the spread of coronavirus from Nairobi County. Already, a number of your residents have contracted the virus, and we have isolated them for treatment. In Machakos, for instance, we have 7 cases. 1 from Syokimau, 1 from 2 from Syokimau, and there is 1 each in Athi River, Kamulu. We have a case now from Kamulu, Ruby Garden Estate. We have a case from Kigunguni and Viranji. In Kiambu, we have a case each of the following estates. Githurai has a case, Githurai 45, Dongoru, Edegua, Tinganga, Waithaka, and Wataalam. Kajiado 2, we have cases in Kitengela, in Matasia, and Ongata Rongai. In Murang'a, we have 2 cases in Gatanga and Lumumba Drive. All these cases are being treated in our various hospitals, and we hope and pray that they will soon be cured. But the reason for mentioning the specific areas is to establish and to show you that it is not a Nairobi disease, it is not a stranger's disease, it is something in your neighborhood. It is something that is being carried by a brother, a sister. It is something that is within a friend that you have, and therefore it is just to emphasize the need for social distancing and the need to be just careful as we move along.
That you have tested in the last 24 hours and cumulatively, as well as from maybe Dr. Amot, last time you did
No, but you're getting the news on Zoom. Yes.
Social distancing, please.
Good. Thank you, Amref.
The world faces a common enemy, COVID-19. The virus does not care about nationality or ethnicity, faction or face. It attacks all relentlessly. Meanwhile, armed conflict rages on around the world. The most vulnerable, women and children, people with disabilities, the marginalized and displaced, pay the highest price. They are also at the highest risk of suffering devastating losses from COVID-19. Let's not forget that in war-ravaged countries, health systems have collapsed. Health professionals, already few in number, have often been targeted. Refugees and others displaced by violent conflict are doubly vulnerable. The fury of the virus illustrates the folly of war. That is why today I am calling for an immediate global ceasefire in all corners of the world. It is time to put armed conflict on lockdown and focus together on the true fight of our lives. To warring parties I say, pull back from hostilities, put aside mistrust and animosity, silence the guns, stop the artillery, end the airstrikes. This is crucial to help create corridors for life-saving aid, to open precious windows for diplomacy, to bring hope to places among the most vulnerable to COVID-19. Let us take inspiration from coalitions and dialogue slowly taking shape among rival parties in some parts to enable joint approaches to COVID-19. But we need much more. End the sickness of war and fight the disease that is ravaging our world. It starts by stopping the fighting everywhere, now. That is what our human family needs, now more than ever.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. We're now going to take some questions from the press. James Bays from Al Jazeera is asking, your call for a global ceasefire is obviously going to be difficult to achieve. I would like to ask you to address just one conflict as an example, Libya, where all parties are already supposed to be observing a humanitarian pause. But in fact, it seems one side, led by General Haftar, has used this period to intensify his military campaign.
There was a truce that was more recently decided again. It is not holding very well. And this is one of the reasons why I believe we need a global ceasefire. And all my special representatives will be very active, talking with the parties and trying to create a global dynamics in order for all countries around the world to put pressure on the parties to the conflicts everywhere to stop the fighting. I believe that this is the only way to address those situations where the parties have been quite stubborn in not accepting the need to a ceasefire, when everybody knows that there is no military solution, and the fighting going on only increases suffering and makes the response to COVID-19 now even more difficult.
Just quick follow-up to that from Maria from TASS. You did mention that you were in touch with your special envoys. Have you received any commitments to the ceasefire from different sides in Syria, Libya, Yemen, Ukraine, etc.?
I'm launching the global appeal now. My special envoys will be now working with the parties to the conflict to try to make sure that this global appeal is not only listened to, but leads to concrete action, leads to a pause in fighting, creating the conditions for the response to COVID-19 to be much more effective. And let's not forget, those areas that are ravaged by the conflict are areas where the capacity of response is very limited. And if the fighting goes on, we might have an absolutely devastating spreading of the epidemic.
Yeah, and so Jessica from France 24 is asking a related question. Can you explain how you would protect the world's most vulnerable from the virus, refugees in particular?
Well, the UNHCR and IOM have been working hard to have a plan, working with the host countries in order to create conditions in refugee camps and or in settlements where refugees are, together with internally displaced people, both to prevent the arrival of the virus to those places through different measures, but also to create the capacity to respond and to mitigate the impact inside those camps. I appeal for the international community to fully support those measures. They will be included in a humanitarian appeal that we will launch on Wednesday, asking for $2 billion to allow us to have a humanitarian response more effective in relation to those dramatic situations where COVID-19 has needs by itself, but at the same time is linked to a desperate situation already in the countries affected.
Betul Yurik from Anadolu Agency is asking, do you think the measures taken by the world leaders are enough? And if not, what other steps would you like them to take?
I've just sent a letter to the leaders of the G20. I think it is clear that we need a much stronger coordination. Coordination in suppression of the disease, coordination in making sure that not only the developed countries can respond effectively to the disease, but that there is massive support to the developing world, not to let the disease spread like wildfire in the developed world. And then a huge package, a package to respond to the economic and social consequences, but not as in 2008, a package essentially aiming at the financial center. Now it's a human crisis, so the package needs to make households be afloat, make businesses be afloat, keep societies being afloat in this very difficult circumstance. And this will require a double-digit of GDP support in the developed world, and creating the conditions through the IMF, through the swaps among central banks, through the creation of new facilities. We need to mobilize enough funds to allow the developing countries themselves to be able to have an adequate economic and social response to the crisis. And then they need to make sure that when we recover in a more sustainable and a more inclusive economy.
Great. Pam Falk from CBS News is asking, are you concerned that this crisis is diverting attention from some of the world's other problems?
It is true. The crisis is diverting attention from many other issues. We need to be able to respond to the crisis, but at the same time, as I did today, to make sure that responding to the crisis, we are also addressing some of our major concerns. When I ask for a global ceasefire, the global ceasefire is, of course, absolutely essential for an effective response to the crisis in areas of conflict, but is also a value in itself. War doesn't make any sense when we have an epidemic, but war doesn't make any sense in any circumstances.
Okay, just two last questions. A number of journalists who are online are asking what world leaders you've spoken to.
I've been sending today a message to all G20 leaders. I've been speaking to several of them, and I intend to be in a virtual conference with all of them this week.
Okay, and the final question, how are you feeling, Mr. Secretary General?
I'm feeling strongly determined. This is the moment in which the UN must be active. The UN must fully assume its responsibilities, first doing what we have to do, our peacekeeping operations, our humanitarian agencies, our support to the different bodies of the international community, the Security Council, the General Assembly. But at the same time, this is a moment in which the UN must be able to address the peoples of the world and appeal for a massive mobilization and for a massive pressure on governments to make sure that we are able to respond to this crisis. Not to mitigate it, but to suppress it. To suppress the disease and to address the dramatic economic and social impacts of the disease. And we can only do it if we do it together, if we do it in a coordinated way, if we do it with intense solidarity and cooperation, and that is the raison d'etre of the United Nations itself.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
joining the World Health Organization's Safe Hands Challenge. Hand washing is one of the most effective ways of preventing the spread of coronavirus. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 40 to 60 seconds.
As the world fights the deadly COVID-19 pandemic, the most challenging crisis we have faced since the Second World War, we are also seeing another epidemic, a dangerous epidemic of misinformation. Around the world,
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, wherever you are in Africa. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from FAST, the political command center of Punchline Africa Television, all the way miles away from the beautiful Miriam, wherever she is, in the general headquarters of Punchline Africa Television. I want to thank her very much for waking up very early in the morning to keep the fort and to keep the work going. We shall talk. However how many millions who will hear our message, we always continue to do one thing, do the right thing. And that is the position that we want to take. We want to thank everybody who has been in listening to us since morning. We started very early in the morning. Some of us wake up at 4 and start writing some of the things. And since we don't have powder now in the studio, at times in the studio we do the powder. So we use this weights to keep the body. Miriam does the powder, a bit of it in the studio, isn't it? Before you go to the cameras. But the camera here, nobody can take powder now. Nobody can touch your face, only yourself. And don't touch it. Wash your hands, sanitize your hands before you touch anything. This is it. Here, wake up, sanitizer, or wash the hands. Maji, Papa, we shall do a demonstration of my water on the basin here, and I will wash my hands. Yes, wash them. It will be a good blessing for you. It will help you live longer and be able to wait until medicine is coming, if it will ever appear. So thank you very much. Let's go straight to the topic. We don't have much time. We have 35 minutes waiting for us. And this time we shall stick to the point. There is no rambling here, there, no, on the points. Miriam is in the studio across. Let her bring the topic. Ask. Let her read the topic with the very good voice.
All right, a very good morning to you. This is Good Morning Africa Show, wherever you're watching us from across the globe. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in. So this morning, our topic for Good Morning Africa is don't cause the state of despondency here in Kenya. We've seen a lot of leaders across board, politicians, other just people who have a level of caliber that has an influence in this country or even across the region. They come out and they speak some things that inspires hopelessness, inspires, demotivates Kenyans, even as the government is really trying its best to ensure that Kenyans are protected and Kenyans are kept safe, and it is delivering on its promise on that. But we've seen the others who are working overtime to create a state of despondency, Doctor, which is something that is very dangerous, and so we have to speak about it today.
Thank you very much, Miriam. What is a state of despondence? Good morning. Don't cause state of despondence. Don't cause a state of despondence in Kenya. Listen to authorities. listen to the president, listen to the minister of health. Don't create a state of hopelessness by engaging in side shows. That is the topic on Kenya today. We see politicians angling themselves for party takeovers. Whichever side you are, this is not the time to do it. Yes, you need politics. You love it. But distance from these shows. Don't get involved. When you are a leader, you don't get involved in side shows. I am happy President Uhuru Kenyatta is out of this. He's standing very far, he's quiet. I have liked the way President Uhuru Kenyatta does his things at times. He keeps quiet while other people are busy marshalling people to go, marshalling bloggers to attack DCI. Have you seen the bloggers who are attacking the DCI? They are attacking Mr. Kinoti. They have even created a newspaper called Daily Star. You hear that? Daily Star. Have you seen what they are publishing? Pseudo accounts. The masters of pseudo accounts are well known. They create pseudo accounts. They are seated somewhere in a very nice house with computers creating pseudo accounts to say the father of this man went to meet the DCI. Were they there? Who in the DCI was briefing people that the father of Kenei met the DCI? This comes on the heels that 2 cops from the office of close protection are being hauled to the DCI tomorrow. So someone has created a story of despondence. That's what I'm talking about in political science. That is despondence. It's a state of despondence. When you create to preempt hopelessness. Let's go and take over. On Tuesday, we take over Jubilee House. We start working. State of despondence. Make citizens lose faith in their leader. That is what is happening, Miriam. Make people lose their leadership. Leadership, belittle the leader. Belittle him. Call him names. Wanjohi, Walisiju, Will, Wasidi, that. They are calling him names. Pseudo accounts. Some of them, the voices are so small. Either they have put a microphone, a handkerchief on the microphone. Pseudo accounts. When you ask him that you are so-called Mwangi, from where? Meru, or from X, he doesn't even know how to speak one word of Meru. But they are busy on the social media, created pseudo accounts, parodies. A parody account, I think you know that, and the viewers know what parodies are. To molest the state, to weaken the state, to weaken the level of how the state can fight COVID-19. Because Mutahi Kagwe has come up to light the star of President Uhuru Kenyatta. So we must weaken him. We must make sure that he doesn't succeed. Haki ya Mungu, Miriam, that is what is happening, my dear. Mm-hmm. That is what is happening. A state of despondency. And a serious security officer systems will know that someone, somehow, in this country is creating a state of despondence. to change the minds of the people, to discourage the people from supporting the fight against COVID-19, from supporting the efforts of DCI, the efforts of DPP. How come was yesterday MPs started, allied to people started writing about DCI? They say, oh, we know DCI is going to call people tomorrow. How do they know? How did they know? The state of despondency is everywhere. In Nigeria, for example, the health authorities were not very happy about the burial where people grounded at the burial of a person who had died of COVID-19. And then the officials who went were again arrested or were told they have to report by the health authorities. They created a state of despondency by supplying the disease. The clothes that they used for burial left them everywhere to weaken. So a state of despondence is happening everywhere, where people who have been wanting power have come in, Miriam, now to take it over.
Yes.
Why should the headline like the one we have on this, the Standard today, where does it come from? Where does it fit people? Surely Kenyans, where does this headline lead you up? Even if you want politics,
All right, we seem to be having an issue there with the reception of Dr. Matsanga from the political command center there. So we're looking at today's topic, don't cause a state of despondency in this country. And of course, the definition of despondent is having the feeling of losing courage or hope. And in the face of the COVID-19, we've seen a lot of people losing hope, and sometimes they don't even know what to do. Their jobs have been affected, their way of life every day has been affected. So something has changed drastically, and so people have to learn to cope. And so this is not the time that we need our leaders to come out and try to plant more seeds of fear, because there's enough fear already in the people. So now what we need is the leadership to inspire courage, to inspire hope. And that is basically what President Uhuru Kenyatta has been doing, and his administration in this country. We saw him issuing some monies that will be given. I think, was it yesterday, we were reading the newspaper where now money has been dispatched already, and people from the low income areas are set to receive, I think, about 8,000 Kenya shillings within this week. So that is very good, trying to salvage and otherwise a situation that could have been very hopeless, but we see the government coming in. And so, Doctor, while you were giving that explanation there earlier, and you said the president has been very quiet, and rightfully so, because the president understands you cannot be responding to each and every these noises. These are meant to distract him, these are meant to keep him off course, but he knows what is important is to ensure Kenyans are taken care of. And that's why President Uhuru Kenyatta can go mute, and sometimes he does, not even sometimes, he does not respond to that. I mean, he's been taking the lead. We know Kenyans who have benefited from these monies that have been given by the government, and these all sorts of help that the government has been giving through the counties and otherwise. I think they know how the government is working, and they know that the government is doing all it can to ensure that they're okay, they're fed, they're okay, and they're fine. And we've seen even the president going ahead and cutting down on the VAT, and if the people who are earning 24,000 and less, they will not be taxed. So these are things that the government did to cushion, to alleviate the fear that otherwise had already started engulfing a lot of Kenyans. So the president is quiet, and I think he knows what he's doing because he's quiet, because he's working. He knows he cannot respond to this unnecessary noise from the side. He needs to do what he's supposed to do for Kenyans, and he is doing that. And I think that is what is really important, because Kenyans, others have a feeling of a loss. Sometimes they don't know what is happening. You hear your mother is sick in the village, you cannot travel. So yes.
I don't know whether you are hearing me now.
Yes, we had lost you there. So I was just, yes.
You have made very good points. Very fantastic points. The silence of President Uhuru Kenyatta tells it all, that he knows what he's doing. At the end of the day, when COVID-19 is over, the dividends for the people of Kenya will be huge in terms of guidance and discipline and focus. Look at one of the statements where we call a state of despondence. The Senate majority leader, Senator Murkomen, on April 14th, a Tuesday, April 14th, defended MPs not willing to contribute towards helping COVID-19 fight. The man said that most MPs commit a huge chunk of their salary into paying back mortgages, loans. Speaking during an interview, Murkomen revealed that his 30% contribution want to help, as he only takes home 10,000 Kenya shillings after deductions. After deductions, that he takes home 10,000 shillings. What was it meant to bring?
And when Kenyans from the very low end of income bracket, they listen to things like this can easily take them to a state of despondency, because they're thinking, if that is our leader there, if that is the Senate majority leader, and we're assuming he's comfortable in life, and here I am, the company that I was working for in industrial area right now is retrenching. In fact, it's closed down until further notice. So that is enough to inspire fear into Kenyans. And that's what I said, Doctor, earlier there when I was just trying to explain what the government is doing. Even despite of Mr. Murkomen, he is a senior person in this country who, what he says and the things that he does in public indeed do matter. Even the way he expressed this, as much as we understand that they have other commitments that perhaps were prior to this crisis that we have right now, but it is the manner in which he said it that was really threw Kenyans off and thought, okay, fine, if this is the leader, that these are the kind of leaders that we're looking up to, so what will happen to us, just a normal, common, citizens in this country? So even as our leaders want to come out there and address some of these issues, they should be very careful on how they express it, because as we said there, there's a lot of feeling of loss, there's a lot of feeling of not having enough courage to face the day and hopelessness. And we've seen the way the government has come in to cushion Kenyans who otherwise would be facing very indeed tough times. We've seen them very happy. Initially, the government started with 2,000 shillings. We see now it has increased, and that is a very good thing. So when Senate majority leader comes out and say we cannot contribute, we cannot do this, and yet Kenyans elected you there to show leadership, and then the party trusted you to steer ahead the party's agenda in Parliament and in Senate, and you're failing to do this, this can indeed cause a state of despondency. So even perhaps some of the reasons that they're giving are valid, but it is the manner in which he said it and the tone in which he used to say it that really threw Kenyans off, and now we don't understand. But thank God, President Uhuru Kenyatta they're doing all they can to ensure that Kenyans are cushioned.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And when you look at the majority leader in the National Assembly, his was more moderate. He did not show a state of despondence, although he said he would rather have companies that have been taking...
Doctor, was it really modest? Because what he said is, Duale argued that taking a salary reduction would be insignificant, adding that he was not elected to the National Assembly by the people of Garissa Township to take a pay cut. So what are the people of Garissa Township thinking when you hear your leader say that?
Pay cut, but he was elected.
Yes.
For him, he explained,
yes.
Which is very good, elected to make laws such that they are safe and their homes. Okay. So if he has made laws, he justified, his language was more mature. He justified to the public that there are many companies that have been making money out of Kenya and out of the safe laws and the guidelines. Can these companies now start contributing their money?
And
that's okay.
And that is,
but
yes. And that is a very
Yes,
valid
go ahead.
argument there, Doctor. Yeah, but that is also escapism, because at this time, this is when leadership counts. You as a leader, the people trusted you with this position. What are you doing on their behalf? Are you talking to these companies to bring help to the people? What are you doing? If you're not able to contribute because of other constrictions, I'm saying it is possible. The money, the salaries, usually you plan and you have pre-plans. So it might not be very possible for them to give as much as perhaps Kenyans would want them to give, and it is understandable. But what are you doing in your position? Are you trying, these companies that he's citing, is it trying to talk to a few of them to bring help in Garissa, to bring sanitizers in Garissa, to put water points to wash hands? What is his contribution, even by inviting these people? What is he doing? That is what I want to hear. So if you want to be an escapist and divert the attention to other people, and yet you are the one who's supposed to be giving a way forward, even for the people that you're representing, still, that argument does not really hold. He has a responsibility, yes.
Okay, let's say he played safe. He played safe. Mm-hmm. He tried. He did not want to come out as an despondent mm-hmm. Applicant or despondent messenger. He played safe, but still you have a point.
He has a responsibility.
There is no excuse
it cannot
of
escape.
A leader.
Yes.
Yes, a leader to speak about this against this. Mm-hmm. Okay, illegal acts like a health secretary, cabinet secretary said, Mutahi Kagwe said some Kenyans have been bribing their way out of the quarantine. This illegal act like this driver, they started that in Mandela. There are people who bribed their way out of the isolation. Nearly 2 weeks ago,
yes.
Travel in and out of Nairobi was restricted along another 3 regions. There have been claims of people bribing police to be allowed through roadblocks. You are creating a state of despondency. Mm-hmm. If you don't follow the regulations, you are a police officer on the roadblock, mm-hmm. and you don't follow the regulations. You allow people to go. Then people go and multiply where they are going. How do you feel in your heart? How do you feel? We want to ask people to be patriotic, to be disciplined. How do you feel when you have allowed people? Then you hear that, oh, that car that I allowed yesterday went to Muranga or went to Laikipia or went to Nyandarua and produced 500 people with COVID-19. How does this driver of a car that carried a coffin, when you are in this quarantine, how do you think? Mm-hmm. When you are receiving this money from the same guy whom you are with now in the quarantine, who hired you? You see the point? How do you feel? Because some people are telling us that when you talk about this driver, you take a photograph because he's your brother and send it to the media, to the social media for us to seek sympathy. No. Was the driver sympathetic when he was stopping at the petrol station to take short calls? How many toilets did he touch? How many meat joints did he go to? How many people was he killing? How many elderly people came and sat in this place where he sat? These are some of the things that we must ask as people who are still alive, who are still here, and the journalists who go and take photographs. Miriam, there's created a state of despondence for the Ministry of Health. People who are insulting Mutahi Kagwe by saying he's doing a PR exercise. These guys are many. They create newspapers to write about Mutahi Kagwe. That newspaper called the Daily Star. Who owns the Daily Star? In the town which you know where it is printing from. Who is the owner? It has been created to defend bad habits. If you know that the DCI is investigating a case, and then you start preempting what they are going to ask those people, you are creating despondence, hopelessness. Now, Mr. Kinoti is investigating a case, a very serious case. But people have already printed material that he met the father. And the father is not given the time to answer. You get the point? The father has not been given the time. We don't see the picture of the time. We don't know when they interviewed the father of this deceased. You see, it is traumatizing. Despondency is a state that traumatizes even the nationals, that they wake up, confuses the nationals, they stand up. What is the aim of this? The aim of despondency is to create a regime change. Miriam, I've dropped a very dangerous word there. I've dropped a very serious word there. I can read for you something which some members are writing on, and you will believe me, look at this one. This is a member of Tanga Tanga group who wrote, Kechu chartered flight to China cost 28 million maximum. Peanuts, but the Chinese have confiscated passports from Kenyans who express interest to return through Kenyan ambassador in Beijing. Kibaki regime was a model of Africa. Jubilee is clueless, wrong priorities, hyena predator against her own citizens. Mobilize and organize to disband Jubilee by December. It is there. Haven't you seen that hashtag? Hashtag mobilize and organize to disband Jubilee by December. If you think I'm telling a lie, there it is. There is that question now. Instead of us handling the Chinese issue by asking the government that the people who are there might have lost, they might have spent all the money, they don't have the money. A person, a good man in good leadership would come to the president to say, Your Excellency, can we arrange some of this money to airlift these Kenyans, bring them back here? Someone has gone to tweet, a very senior leader of Tanga Tanga group, on his own Twitter handle. That's why is the government not paying this money for the people to come. That too, the Chinese have confiscated the passports. What are you creating? You are creating a state of despondence for the government, so that the government is hated. The Chinese also are hated. Where are we heading? Miriam? Where are we heading? Regime change. If people are annoyed because their people are locked there, they start killing Chinese. The China government, sorry, God forbid, you are creating hatred against the Chinese. That their government is confiscating their passports. And yet you are not in Beijing. You are seated in your small room, somewhere.
All right, another signal problem there from doctor's end. And what I would say about that matter, because it bothers me while we still see these Africans in the streets there in China, others with children, others went there to study, others, you know, I mean, it's a global community, so people find themselves where they find themselves. But also now, doctor, on that matter, sorry, we seem to have had a problem there with your signal. So I think what the government of China needs to do is address this matter. The government of China needs to address this matter. We should stop. The government of China needs to address this matter. Yes.
Miriam, both governments need to address this matter.
They need to ensure these foreigners who are in their country are kept somewhere, even if they still have some legal issues with their documents, others, their visas there have expired. They need to, from the human perspective, you cannot have people sleep in the streets. You cannot allow them to go to the supermarkets and get food and things like that. That is not right. So the government of China needs to take some ownership in this part of this mess and ensure, you know, as much as these other small issues will be sorted out within the individual countries, but put them somewhere, let them be safe off the street somewhere, and just make sure they're okay, and then let them sort these other issues with their own country, because the Kenyan government really cannot do much as it is now, and I'm hoping they're working on it, and those who can come back home. Right now there are no flights to Africa anyway from China, and that's why the government of China right now has the responsibility to ensure these visitors that are in their country are taken care of until you know, the flights are able to fly back to Africa, to Kenya, to Nigeria, to other places. Because right now, even if you said, okay, government is going to pay for their tickets, which plane is going to China right now? There are no planes going to that country or any other country in the world. So government of China has a big part to play on this, and I will just hope that I will urge the government of China to at least just get them somewhere safe. You're able to build a whole hospital in 2 weeks, surely you can find accommodation to these few Africans. Keep them safe over there, because you're trying to fight the spread of the COVID-19 in your country. By leaving them in the streets, you're not helping the matter. Put them somewhere safe. Make sure that they're provided with their basic needs. After this is done and flights are able to resume, you're able to resume normalcy, you can deport them if you want. But right now, it is not okay.
It is not. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. A state, both
despondency,
diplomats,
yes.
they must come.
Yes.
There's a responsibility. There's a responsibility before the state.
Yes.
But there is a time where the state has priorities. The only disagreement that I have is the mistreatment.
Yes.
I agree with you. The Chinese should not mistreat those black people. They should not mistreat Kenyans. Not only Kenyans, but all people of whatever they are. The government should allow them, okay, they should open one supermarket to allow them to buy food from that particular supermarket.
Or provide for them. China can afford to give them a bread a day, a meal a day. China is
Yes.
can afford.
So,
yes.
let them not, that is not very good. Equally, our brothers in Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, wherever they are, some of them who went there, can I tell you the story? Quick one, 1 minute. In Britain, people who were hiding without papers have been brought out by this disease. Very many African illegal immigrants in this America, you have to show your card to be treated. And you are coughing, almost collapsing. So you can't avoid being treated. Miriam, you have to put your card. So people have gone, and you know, in London, they are treating you. But after treating you and they see you, while you are in the bed, they call the immigration.
Exactly.
So let China take that responsibility like the one in London. Most of the people who are in London who went there and went underground have resurfaced on water. Walienda chini ya maji, sasa wako juu. The disease has brought everybody up. Where do you have to go to hospital and you have to produce your card NHS card, which everybody in London who is entitled to care and the medical care has to produce. Miriam. And so people have found themselves producing these cards. No card, you appear in a hospital, you are taken in hospital. They will not close you out like China. What China is doing is very bad, to close people to access the necessities.
Yeah, because
but in Britain, despite all these killings, these deaths that are occurring in hundreds of thousands, they are treating even illegal immigrants who had hidden under the water and they were working illegally. Now disease has brought them out. Toka chini ya maji. China should take that example and help. In Britain, they are taking them when you are cured. When you are cured from the COVID, you go to this holding center, waiting for the planes to start.
Yes. And that is what...
And then, yes.
And that is what China should do. So this argument, they keep saying, oh, these Africans, a lot of them are there illegally. Now they're there, you can see them. So leaving them in the streets is not helping. And I know this was not part of the topic that we're talking about.
Can I tell you
but
another
it is a matter that we have to address, yes.
Yesterday, I was on a program and I told you the nearest hospital from Sudan is in Nairobi. Am I right? The nearest hospital in South Sudan is in Nairobi. So if disease ravages South Sudan, we are in very big chaos, Miriam. And guess what? There's a story that has just come up. Have you seen it on the wires? That the 2 Kenyans are being told to leave South Sudan because they tested a positive. Okay? If that story is true, I haven't confirmed it, but it has just been brought by our correspondent. We shall confirm to bring you the story. So it confirms the Sudanese, whereas the Kenya government policy is if you are caught here, you remain in quarantine.
Yes,
which is very sensible. We are not exporting Chinese back to China. They are here to go through the mandatory law, clean themselves, get their certificates. When they are all through, you are free to go. Then you can climb your plane.
And even, yes. And even after this matter started, the COVID-19, and we saw a bit of when people did not have the good understanding about what is happening, and we saw sometimes a few of Chinese being harassed here and there. I saw the government on my way to work. They were working on the roads there. I don't know, some few things they were doing there. You would see the government of Kenya has given them security. You would see a policeman seated there and watching over them as they do their job. So the government of Kenya gave them security when they felt that perhaps they could be having a threat over their life when when this story just started. So my point is, right now, even if the government of Kenya said, okay, fine, we shall pay for the tickets for Kenyans to come home, it is not possible for them to come home right now because of the prevailing circumstances. There are no flights that are leaving, or there are no flights basically. So the right thing for China to do, and they should stop. Every time people are raising these matters, they say, oh no, because they don't have the papers, because they don't have this, because there are no Africans in the streets. Come on now, China, stop it. Be humane. Your people here are protected by the government of Kenya. They're being protected everywhere else. You see every African leaders coming out and saying, no. Please don't take matters into your hand. Don't attack the Chinese or any other nationality that is outside the country. Just observe the law. So we're not encouraging that. So what you're saying is, please, right now, even if we wanted to take our people from there, we cannot. So you have a responsibility under the global village and some of these things that we sign internationally, ensure these people are safe. If they're not allowed to go to the shops for whatever reason, just keep them somewhere, make sure, then provide for them, at least for the few weeks or so that we still need to deal with this matter. Then after that is done, sort out the legal issues. Those who don't have the papers, deport them back to their other countries, and those who are eligible to still stay there, continue with their education, and otherwise let them resume back life as usual. That is just all I'm saying, because this matter, it's going on too long. And yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam. You have knocked the point. The state of despondence only discourages other people to take part, encourages people to break the law.
Yes, very true. And
let's summarize it this way. In Kenya, the politicians and the cartels who are causing the state of despondence against the state, against the very civilians that they want to lead tomorrow, should avoid that route. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching us. I don't think I have any more words.
What I will say is our leaders, sometimes they don't realize that their words have power. And I think I've said this over and over and over again. And I know right now you want to score political points. The government is giving free sanitizers. You want to go put your sticker on it and pretend you're the one who has given it out. You're out there making noise on what is the government doing, what is the government doing. You're forgetting you're part of the leadership that the people have elected as a member of parliament, as a senator, as a governor, as an MC. So you also have a part here. You are the government, a representation of what those people are seeing in whatever level that you have been elected. So you cannot escape a responsibility. So it's not just the national government. You need to work with it. And if you feel there are things that are not being done, or there are some needs that are not being met in your area, that is your job to alert the necessary authorities, the Ministry of Health, or whatever help you need. So coming out here and making noise and all this politicking and try to score some political points, this is not the time, please. We don't need that, these political headlines. This is not what Kenyans want to wake up right now. We want to know what is happening. We want to know, are people doing the right thing? Are we sensitizing our people enough? Why are still people walking with a face mask under their chins? Why are still people allowed to get into public service vehicles without their mask? And yet the government has made this very crystal clear. So this is what you're supposed to be doing as a leader. Cover yourself, go to different bus stops in your area. I don't even know what they're still doing around here. Go, be responsible, play your part, and then let's see how that works out. And then you'll be busy, down there serving your people. This making noise and trying to, make it look like, criticizing everything that the government is doing is not even healthy. And politics, that is not what Kenyans want to hear right now. So please save us that and go play your part in helping the government and ensuring that our people are safe. That is what you're supposed to be doing right now. So politics, we don't want to hear that right now. Please, our politicians out there, let's help our government. Let's help our people so that even after this is done, you'll still have people to vote for you, and you'll still have people to, to participate in the next elections, if they'll still be there. So let's ensure our people will still be there. Nothing, will happen to them in terms of if this COVID-19 is able to be, not spread much as we have seen in other countries. So that is your responsibility. Sometimes these leaders, Doctor, when they speak, you'll think that you wonder, do they even know their jobs down there? Well, they criticize so much. They talk so much, and yet they have a responsibility in delivering the services to their people as well. They don't even know their place, so sometimes it's very annoying. And then they just want to politicize everything. It's unbelievable, but we all have a part to play.
Brings us to the end of Good Morning Africa, part 1, which touches on the state of despondency. Why create a state of despondency in Kenya when you can help your government to fight together with COVID, or fight together and fight COVID-19? Why? The questions still remain many, but the answers are simple. Just wash your hands, advise others to wash their hands, advise others to have a social distance, advise others to go to home, stay safe, and advise others to be disciplined. Self-discipline is the essence. Good morning or good afternoon in Africa, in Nairobi. We take a short break. When we come back, Miriam, what is the topic? Just read it. Our topic.
when we come back, we shall come back to diplomatic leaks, where we shall be looking at is Africa making progress in line with the fight against the COVID-19.
Thank you very much. When we come back, is Africa making progress in line with COVID, against COVID-19? If you are in any African state, wherever you are, I can see people from Zimbabwe, Sindonio Givandas from Zimbabwe. You have explained a very good point. Pick a phone and call us, +254 795 638 145. And Miriam can say it clearer, nicer.
Yeah, I think you said it. I might miss a digit there. I think you're very loud and clear. They heard you. Unless maybe you could repeat it again.
+254 795 638 145. Nairobi. Miriam will pick your call. We are going to the next phase of diplomatic league.
Yes.
Is Africa prepared? Is Africa prepared? How is Africa prepared? Is it prepared? Is it fighting COVID-19? How is it fighting? How far have we gone? We got the message too late. But before you go there, Miriam, I have news for you. Some news. I want you to give me an answer about these names. Not you in particular, but anybody listening. Get a pen. If you are a student of political science listening to these shows, these are the names: Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, George Soros, Warren Buffett, Barack Obama, Jacob Rothschild, Henry Kissinger, the Rockefellers, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Tony Blair. When I read those names, what rings in your mind? What rings in your mind? Hallelujah. Give me the answers. I'm now seated comfortably. Can I sit this way, Miriam? Sit this way or that way? Let's have it. The names are clear. Can I read them again? Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, George Soros, Warren Buffett, Jacob Rothschild, Henry Kissinger, Rockefeller, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Tony Blair. Oh my God. Oh my God. I think we go on, Miriam. Can we push on? We don't need to break now, do we? What does production team say?
Yes, let's say it's
Get
okay.
those names. Are they clicking your head? Is there some?
All right, a bit of a technical hitch there. So we have entered into diplomatic leaks, where we're going to look at how far has Africa gone with the war against the COVID-19, and those names the doctor has just mentioned there. He's wondering yes.
The internet
we had lost you there. We had lost you there for.
I think, okay, they are the ones interfering with internet now. And Mr. Sindonio Givandas from Zimbabwe has already answered you. Now, that is one version. Who are they? When you read all these names, what you scratch your head? The first thing that you do, either you knock the pen like Miriam is knocking, or Miriam is thinking so hard. and then put COVID-19 in the perspective. What is going on here? Miriam will give us the answers in the next session. This is Good Morning Africa. Wherever you are in the continent of Africa, in Kenya, we have been discussing what we call state. Don't create a state of despondency. Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much, viewers. We come next in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. We shall be back with diplomatic leaks. Very hot topic. How far have you gone? Tanzania, what ya Tanzania walisema, mwalimu, wakati ya mwalimu nilikuwa Tanzania. Tanzania walisema, tuko na dasturi mzuri kabisa. Lakini dasturi yetu sasa inaleta mavurugano kubwa kwa this type of disease called COVID-19. Thank you. Has he cut me off?
All right,
Yes.
all right, all right. We shall be back.
As the COVID-19 pandemic spreads across the globe, we are seeing an alarming pattern. The poorest and most vulnerable members of society are being hardest hit both by the pandemic and the response. I am especially concerned about the well-being of the world's children. Thankfully, children have so far been largely spared from the most severe symptoms of the disease, but their lives are being totally upended. I appeal to families everywhere and leaders at all levels. Protect our children. Today, we are launching a report that highlights the risks they face. First, education. Almost all students are now out of school. Some schools are offering distance learning, but this is not available to all. Children in countries with slow and expensive internet services are severely disadvantaged. Second, food. A staggering 310 million school children, nearly half of the world's total, rely on school for a regular source of daily nutrition. Even before COVID-19, the world faced unacceptable rates of childhood malnutrition and stunting. Third, safety. With children out of school, their communities in lockdown and the global recession biting deeper, family stress levels are rising. Children are both victims and witnesses of domestic violence and abuse. With schools closed, an important early warning mechanism is missing. There is also a danger that girls will drop out of school, leading to an increase in teenage pregnancies. And we must not ignore the growing risks children are facing as they spend more time online. This can leave children vulnerable to online sexual exploitation and grooming. A lack of face-to-face contact with friends and partners may lead to heightened risk-taking, such as sending sexualized images, and increased and unstructured time online may expose children to potentially harmful and violent content, as well as greater risk.